I belong to Dharamshala. In 1976, I got my realization. And like everyone else, we have a great desire that Shri Mataji should bless our hometown. So on several occasions, I happened to mention and pray to her to come to Dharamshala. So she said that, Himalaya is my father. It is my home. And I can go there anytime. But first, I want to be in the world to spread the message of Sage Yoga and complete my mission. And in the end, sometime, when everything is done, I'll return to my hometown. She says, I am Shailaputri. I'm the daughter of the Himalayas. So I let the matter rest. In 1985, Shri Mataji's birthday puja was in Delhi. And normally she departs for England after her birthday celebrations in Delhi. This year it so happened that there was a gap of about 10 days between the birthday puja and her departure. And there was no program elsewhere. So I mustered courage and I broached the subject again. Shri Mataji, now there is the time and you need some rest. And she looked at me quite amused with a twinkle in her eye and said, okay, let's go. So without much preparation, we boarded a train from Delhi station to Pathankot station and a handful of sage yogis. In Pathankot, I have a family house just outside called Mamoon village. So I wanted to dedicate it to her. So she held a public program there and spent a day there. And we had a small puja and I offered the house at her lotus feet. So she said, I think you should open a school here for the village children. So she named it International Sage School Pathankot. And thereafter we left for Dharamshala. And coming here, the main town is called Katwali Bazaar, which is Lower Dharamshala. We had an ancestral house here in Katwali Bazaar and she's spent the night there. In the evening, there was a public program which the Lions Club of Dharamshala had hosted at the Dhauladhar Hotel. The anchor was very poetic and he started reciting verses which we call shares, and she enjoyed them very much, and she gave a very sweet and a loving talk to all the public and the members of the Lion Clubs. She explained that the lion was her vehicle, her vahan, so it was very, she said it was the work of the Param Chaitanya that the Lions Club should host her in Dharamshala. And in that warmth embrace of the mother, everybody received their realization. For follow-ups, we opened a center in our family home. Next day we went to the ashram in Talnu, and as we crossed the fork from where a small road bifurcates to the ashram, she felt tremendous vibrations coming and she asked for the car to stop. She got out of the car and she felt the vibrations coming from a patch of land, and she said, this is the place where Durvasa Rishi had meditated. We didn't know much about Durvasa Rishi. Then she explained that He was a very right-sided rishi and very hot-tempered. And one day the goddess appeared to him and said that, you know, you need to cool your right side, so go to the Himalayas. So this is where he did his tapasya. And she said, you should build a temple here. So she drew out it was a odd size land, so she somehow managed to fit the temple there according to the vibrations, and later it was constructed and she blessed it. Then as we entered the ashram, the Dhauladhar range, which is first range of the Himalayas, she stood before the mountain range and she did pranam to her father, the Himalaya, and stood silently with her eyes closed for about 10 minutes. So we knew that there was a dialogue between the father and the daughter, and we all went into deep meditation. There were tremendous vibrations. And she gifted a photo of her father symbolically to the ashram, and that big portrait was later used for all the printing of all his photos in various books. And next day was the puja in the ashram. She said we'll do Shailputri puja, and all the Dharamshala yogis and some 100 yogis from all over India were there. Rahul Bhai was there, Rajesh, everybody was there. And after the puja it got late, it must have been about 11 o'clock at night. There was a full moon, and from the ashram we walked down to the cottage where she was staying. And she looked at the Himalayas. They were glistening, the snow was glistening under the moonlight. And she said, see how the vibrations are cascading from the Himalayas. So we looked up, we couldn't see anything. So quite humbly we confessed to Mataji, we don't see any vibrations. So she looked at us very piercingly and she said, now look. And then we saw the vibrations cascading down, and she commented that, you know, the Himalayas is Swayambhu, which was created to cleanse the whole world with its vibrations. And we were absolutely like in a waterfall enveloped by these vibrations, and we totally lost any sense of identity. And that experience, that moment, stayed with me for many days. And I tried after that many times to see the vibrations, but I could not see them. So I realized that it was her gift to us for that particular moment, a blessing that we could see it. And then it never happened again. So that night, I think she must have gone to bed about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the next day, there was supposed to be a small program, but she never woke up. And we thought, you know, she'll maybe wake up late, and so we delayed everything. But for several hours, till late evening, she slept and she slept and she slept. And, you know, I've traveled with her several years, and I never experienced this long spell where she sleeps for so many hours. And then late in the evening, she woke up suddenly looking like a very young girl, you know, maybe 19, 20. And we looked absolutely amazed. And she looked so fresh and so vibrant. And before we could even ask her anything, she said, you know, I was so relaxed all my tiredness was sucked by the saints who were meditating in the Himalayas. The whole night they were sucking my vibrations. So I just was so relaxed that all the tiredness of the marathon world travels has gone, and I'm ready with a new body to start all over again with all my energy. So it was quite an experience for us because she was so joyous, bubbling, and then we mentioned that, Shri Mataji, you look like you're 19. I said, sometimes I give you glimpses of my real self, because my body gets heavy and fluffed when the vibrations get jammed inside. So people think that I've put on weight, but actually when the vibrations go, then I'm not this heavy looking person that you think I am. Then the next day there was a program, public program at Dal Lake, and we had spread word to the villages across the snow mountains. People had trekked all along for days to reach out the interior villages of the Himalayas, because these were all worshippers of the goddess. And they never heard of her, they never seen her, but just her photo and the posters, they said the goddess has come, the Devi has come. There were no questions asked, and people trekked miles and miles for days and days to reach the spot. And just as Shri Mataji stood by the lake, there was a green patch where we had arranged in the open. About 5,000 villagers had assembled. And she just put her hand, she didn't even say anything. They were singing, and she just said, "Here." And she put her hand, and it was like a gust of wind that just blew. And she said, the vibrations are coming from them to me. They've got it. So she didn't have to say anything. She didn't even have to follow the regular routine of giving realization. Just put her hands. And villagers were so overjoyed. They started singing and dancing the Pahari bhajans, and she just sat there and she was enjoying their vibrations. And she was so overwhelmed by this realization program that she sent a letter to me from Bombay, which is in the ashram, and you will see it, signed by the trustee of the Life Eternal Trust, Mrs. Sarat, expressing her joy at meeting these people. And then we drove back towards Pathankot. We had evening train, and en route, she was enjoying the beauty of the Himalayas, the greenery, the flora, the fauna. And I think she read my mind, because I had this earnest desire to see God. Of course, God was before me, but there was a mental concept that there is a God Almighty somewhere. And how do I see that God Almighty? And again, she looked at me from the corner of her eyes and she said, "Look at the beauty of the mountains. This is the beauty of God. Why don't you just enjoy it instead of thinking about it?" And I was stumped. She said it so naturally, as if it was a matter of course, so something so simple. And I'd spent my whole life thinking about it and wondering about it and reading books about it, and it was as simple as that. So it left me absolutely speechless, and I went into total silence. And in that silence, I could feel the silence of the mountains, which I never felt before, even though I've lived all my life in these mountains. I suddenly felt and saw them very differently. And I realized, yes, that's what it is. And after that, that whole fixation about God left me. And that experience led to the writing of the book, Face of God. And I said, this is the face of God, and I never saw it before like that. And she guided me on how to write the book and what are the subjects and many things which we didn't know about her past. She told me, and some essays that she had written, and family history, and all that was compiled in that book. But that book was at a very early period of Sahaj Yoga. It did not record the years later on. And then it took a complete 3 volumes of biography. The 10th Incarnation, first volume, Kalki, from 90 to 2001, and the Last Judgment, 2001 till she took Samadhi. So this was the sequence of events that took place. The following year, she suggested that we take the India tour to Dharamshala, because let them enjoy the vibrations of the Mount Himalayas. But the India tour came in December, and Dharamshala is cold and it snows, and the Europeans, the Americans, the Australians who come want to escape from the bitter cold of their countries at that time. So they were not so eager to come to another cold mountain in the middle of December. So we postponed that. And then in years to come, she sent the school children there. In 90, there used to be a school in Switzerland, preschool, and due to some government intervention, the school had to be shut down. So she telephoned me from Switzerland, can you put them up in your farm? And of course I was more than happy to do so. Meanwhile, there was a preschool in Melbourne, and as it was not registered with the government, they had to shut that down. So the Australians lost no time, and I was requesting her whether they could send their children also. So 25 Australian children also came, and we converted our barn into a dormitory and schoolrooms. So the farm transformed into a preschool, and then the Sangha all over toyed with the idea of sending their children. And before the year ended, we had 70 children. So that gave birth to the idea of a school, a Sahaj school. And so she started building the school in Vashi. In 91, the children moved to Vashi, CBD, Belapur. This building was complete. But come summer, the children started getting sick. Somebody had malaria, somebody had jaundice. So half the school felt sick, and it became like a hospital. So Shima said, well, it's better you move the children back to Dharamshala. But we needed to construct more rooms for them. So she gave me 10 lakhs of rupees and said, go and build a school for them. And she drew out the plan like a castle. like a castle, which is basically the concept of Maharashtrian Vada, that you have a courtyard in the middle and the building on the four sides, so that when the children play inside, they are secure. So she designed it like Maharashtrian Vada, but the Westerners gave it an exterior of a castle. And then the children moved back. And then the school grew and grew and grew. And that is the story of the apple orchard. Jai Shri Mataji.